Jack Thomas, United States Navy Commanding Officer, U.S. Navy Patrol Squadron 4.
If you lived in Hawaii between the months of November and February, as anyone who would have been in VP-4 ought to have at some point in their career, you may have been in the audience for any of several folks that come to talk to people out in Hawaii during those months, and they come generally from Washington, D.C. And the topics or the talks that they give generally start with the following statement. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm very pleased to have traveled from Washington, D.C. here to Hawaii to speak to you today. And if you're in the audience, you can see how that would be the case. Cold weather generally on the East Coast, and of course Hawaii has a wonderful trade winds, nice warm sun, and a beautiful green poly. So it's very easy to understand that whoever was making that statement really heartfelt and believed what they were saying and really felt it. So I'm going to try to make a statement here, and I'm going to try to carry it off with as much veracity as I possibly can. And hopefully I will not cause you to question my personal integrity. But good afternoon, everybody. I am very happy to travel from Hawaii to be with you here today in Washington, D.C. How do I do? Okay.
We'll work on it.
I'll work on it a little bit later. Good afternoon, Captain Navarro. Mr. Alston, there you are, sir. Distinguished members of the VP-4 Veterans Association and members of the staff here at the Navy Memorial, I am indeed very happy to be here. I was very happy to get the email requesting me to come back. Very happy to see that the Veterans Association was able to raise the funds necessary to install this plaque as a tribute to the serving members of the squadron as well as everyone who has come before us. Today you're going to hear, and you have heard in the opening remarks, a lot about what the squadron has done, the history, the great and proud history of that squadron. In the passageway in the hangar 104 at Kaneohe Bay Marine Corps Air Station, where we currently reside, there's a plaque that's got 60 slots in it. And it says Commanding Officers of VP-4. And it's just one of several. We have Command Master Chiefs and all sorts of other ones. But there's 60 slots on that chart, on that particular plaque, and they're all taken up except for one. So I get the extreme pleasure of being the 60th name, hopefully. I'll let you know come May if everything comes off okay. But the bottom line is we got to find a way to continue to memorialize the people who have served in the squadron. And behind every 60 of those names are 300 to 400 odd sailors and officers who have served with distinction. But I'm not here to talk about that today. We heard a lot of the history. I'm here to talk about what the squadron is doing today for the United States of America, the contributions that we are making today and have made very recently to the global war on terror and Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then I'm going to introduce to you my Blue Jacket of the Year. I promise not to embarrass him too much. But he represents the future, where we're headed. So I think it's fitting that we'll have a good deal of past, a little bit of the present, and we have the future sitting with us as friends with us today. So I think the first thing you ought to know is that in June of this year, VP-4 returned from a 7-month deployment. In those 7 months, we spent the vast majority of the squadron spent our time in a base in southern Iraq doing overland intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance flying in support of the multinational corps Iraq commander. In addition, we maintained a detachment of a single aircraft and 2 crews in Sigonella, Sicily, so you couldn't find 2 more polar opposite detachment sites for a deployed P-3 squadron. Sigonella, Sicily, or southern Iraq. Pretty stark contrast between the two. Unfortunately, I would really like to be able to tell you about the great things that we did overland Iraq, but I can't get into a whole lot of detail. But what I can tell you is that the men and women of the Skinny Dragons distinguish themselves in this role. In addition to the number of sorties and hours that were already discussed, we provided over 400 sorties and over 4,000 hours of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance support to troops on the ground. We interdicted weapons smugglers and reduced the risk to coalition forces. We rode shepherd over convoys, ferrying needed supplies to coalition members as well as Iraqi troops, keeping them clear of roadside bombs. We provided an unblinking eye to prevent would-be insurgents from gaining a foothold in cities and towns throughout the country of Iraq. Importantly, we provided overwatch of the first Iraqi national election held under Iraqi law. The work we did ensuring the safety and security of Iraqi citizens seeking to have a voice in their country's direction would truly make you proud. It was a moment of great honor and really a distilling moment for the people in the squadron. In fact, the men and women of VP-4 played a large role in building Iraq's organic capacity to govern itself. At the end of our deployment, we knew that no matter what the future held for the country of Iraq, we could say that we, along with the long line of P3 squadrons who contributed, gave the Iraqi people a brief opportunity to choose between hope and fear, to choose peace over conflict, and to choose freedom over tyranny. From Basra to Ramadi, from Kirkuk to Fallujah, the Skinny Dragons made a difference in the lives of the people of Iraq. And for that, we were very happy to have that role. But you might say to yourself, we're a P3 squadron. Why were we in Iraq? Why were we flying overland? Well, I would tell you that the land component commander would tell you that you get to fight the war with what you got, not what you want. So he got us because we are what he had, but we did a great job doing that. We also know that our core competency is at sea. We are a sea power, and we relish that mission. So since June, I have had the distinct pleasure of taking these crews, these 375 people, maintainers and flyers, and turn them into a well-honed ASW submarine hunting machine. And that is my mission throughout the end of my tenure. Our next deployment will likely be to the 7th Fleet Area of Responsibility. One of my petty officers rightly noted, we had a lot of work getting from Iraq to Westpac. So we have been training, and oddly enough, I find some commonalities in the mission sets. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and undersea warfare and ASW require the same kind of diligence, the same kind of patience, the same kind of detail orientation that patrol aviation has required from its onset. It is not sexy. It takes hard work. It takes lots of hours to find, fix, and track what you're looking for, whether it be a submarine or a bad guy on a road. And I will tell you that the crews we have today are prepared to continue the legacy of excellence the squadron has been built on. We are about halfway through our basic phase right now in both simulated environments and flight events on friendly and, in some cases, not friendly submarines, training our crews to get ready to go. Our folks know that whether you are doing ISR or you're doing ASW, the campaign cannot succeed without them. And so they take with them every day that sense of urgency as they go and conduct their training, getting ready for 7th Fleet. The good news is we have great folks doing that today. I had the pleasure of speaking to the VP-6 Veterans Association during their reunion in Hawaii a couple of weeks ago. We hosted them at Kaneohe, and we gave them a static display and showed them a little bit about what we were doing today. And the interesting thing during the static display is that we went out of our way to show them the newest technology. Here's all the great new stuff that we have, and about 50 folks